so excited. The Faith Like This podcast where we talk all things God.
All things entertainment industry.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So I'm going to ask you, Freddie, how far can talent actually get you in Hollywood?
How far can talent get you? I think it could get you here. You know what I mean? Like, or at least in my experience, right? I'm speaking from my, journey, but I feel like talent can get you here. Like talent got me to CalArts, right? It got me to grad school. Obviously, it takes, in my opinion now, it takes a lot more to level up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think talent can get you places for sure. Even as an athlete, talent got me to college. I don't play sports anymore, and I didn't go to the next level. But that's because I didn't have the passion and drive, after the talent. Like I kind of just didn't love the game anymore, and I found that I loved something else. So I was willing to put more than my talent into the craft of like acting, right?
Right.
That's I don't know. You tell me.
That's dope. I think talent can actually get you pretty far because whether or not you can see your talent, other people can see it. And that can essentially help propel you further than you ever could when you're by yourself. I also think talent led to the idea of filmmaking and, of course, encouraged us to apply to get our master's degrees that are specifically in the arts.
For sure.
And talent has gotten us to where we are today, where we're working actively in the industry. So I think talent can actually get us pretty far.
Do you think, what else do you need?
Hard work, discipline, and help.
Okay. Because, I say that, too, because, we from inner city Baltimore.
Yeah.
We know so many talented people.
Right.
And this is to take nothing away from them, but there's a lot of talent that's, that I guess maybe aren't doing things at the level to which maybe we're doing it.
Right.
And
So
that's not to judge anyone,
yeah.
right? Because who's to say what success is or any of those things.
Right.
But, something that my MFA program taught me was, my mentor there said, most of the most talented actors aren't working. Mm-hmm. Some of them are not working,
Wow. Yeah.
You'll see individuals who may not have had the talent in the beginning, but they had the work ethic, right? They were willing to dedicate themselves to the craft. That was part of my reason for going to grad school. And I remember talking to you when you were trying to, go to USC. You were looking at CalArts a little bit.
Yeah. I actually applied. To CalArts, I've just realized today. I didn't get accepted, but I've completely forgot that I applied to CalArts, and I don't know if I told you that, but I actually did apply.
Yeah. Honestly, it worked out for you, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think
did.
there was no other school for me but that school. And I feel like that extra step for you, because that's risky. Thousands of people apply to these programs. These are the top programs in the world for what we do. And that extra step to go to grad school for 3 years, you're putting in the work now. You're putting your talent, you're sharpening, you're refining your talent, right? Yeah. It's kind of like we talk about in church, right? Where God refines us. We have a heart for God, and then God refines us, right? It's like a parallel, if that makes sense.
It does, and it ties back into the idea of faith, because when I applied to USC, I didn't think about the statistics or anything like that. I actually said, I really want to move to LA, but I'm also okay with New York. So I said, if I apply to more LA, that increases my probability. So I applied to 4 grad schools in LA and 2 in New York, NYU and Columbia University. And then I was getting the no's, and then USC was the only yes. But mind you, I just Googled the top film programs in the country, and this was like 2 weeks left to apply for graduate schools. And I said, I'm just going to apply. So I wasn't scared. It actually wasn't until me and my mom, we bought the plane ticket to LA before I got in. And I visited.
That's faith.
Right. And I visited. And my mom said, you didn't hear back yet. Are you sure you really want to go? And my mom is super big on faith, so she never questions it or anything. But for her to ask me, it was like a test. And it's like, and I was able to partner with her and then say, actually, we should do this. And then and then a few days after we made that decision, I got in, moved to LA. I did move to LA. When I got to USC for the orientation, I didn't realize how big USC actually was until Robert Townsend started talking about it. And he said, look around. He said, Some of you, he said, not all of you are going to make it.
Wow.
Some of you will, some of you won't. You're going to get distracted. You're going to get tired. You're going to fall in love. You're going to get married and things are going to slow down. And he said, but some of you will make it. And these are your peers. And I just remember feeling the fire inside me. And I was like, I'm going to make it. I was like, my friends, we're all going to make it. And I think that determination partnered with faith and belief in God is what both got us to this place. And I'm so excited for you to introduce our next guest, because he's going to talk all about that and what that looks like. Yeah.
Our next guest is well, first, let me say you are making it.
Yeah.
Even us doing this right now is like making it.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother conversation for another time.
Right.
But yeah, our next guest is a really, really dope brother, solid artist, phenomenal actor, entrepreneur, has his own actors workshop, Actors Rampage, was a series regular on the 4400, on the CW, has made some guest star appearances on Run the World, on Stars, performing.
He's lit.
Yeah, we super lit. We're super blessed to have him, right? Like
that we have time to have him today.
He got time for us. But no, this next brother we're bringing up is brother Derrick King.
Woo! Welcome.
Hey.
Welcome.
What up?
Good with it,
How y'all feeling?
Good, man.
Good. Y'all look good.
Thank you. You look great.
Thank you.
I like the colors we all got going on.
Hey, you feel me? Fall is approaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were actually just talking. We want to ask you, how far do you think faith and work ethic can actually get you?
All the way there. That's pretty much what you need, right? That is the winning formula. You have the faith. I mean, like they say, the faith of the mustard seed, right?
Yeah.
Move mountains. You have the faith. You follow it up with the work, because faith without work is dead on arrival. And
Okay.
I mean, those
Scriptures.
Yes.
those two together. I mean, there you are. You're exactly where you need to be and where you're supposed to be, where you're destined to be.
How do you feel about like talent? Friday Night Lights was a great movie. Booby Miles, right?
Yeah.
He had the talent. He had the gift. Obviously, you're talking about faith and hard work, but how do you feel about talent? Where can it get you? Where has it gotten you before you've become this distinguished actor that you're becoming?
So I think the beautiful thing about talent is when it's recognized, right? Because a lot of people have talent in a lot of things and they just don't tap into that resource for themselves. So talent can get you, it can get you in the door and further, right? And if you put that hard work and that effort onto the talent and turn it into skill, now you're dangerous.
So tell us like a little bit more about yourself, like how you got into this craft of acting. Where did that start? Tell us where you're from. I mean, I know a little bit, but
Yeah. So I'm from Capitol Heights, Maryland. It's in Prince George's County, Maryland, right outside DC. Yeah. And I went to performing arts schools growing up. Kindergarten through 8th grade, I went to Thomas G. Pullen Performing Arts Schools. And then I also went to Suitland High School. My first year there, I majored in theater. But in that performing arts school, from kindergarten through 5th grade, we had to do everything. We had to sing, act, dance, draw, play an instrument. And then in 5th grade, you get to choose your major. Mine was theater. So that's where that
5th grade.
Yep.
Wow.
So that's where that bug comes in. And I encourage this all the time for any parents out there in general, like giving your child the opportunity to find out what it is that they love to do. It's probably one of the greatest gifts of my life. Right? Because you go to these public schools and they teach you how to think. They teach you what to think. They teach you how to answer questions. I'm going to teach you this thing and I'm going to give you this test. You let me know if you comprehended everything that I said. Good. You're an A+ student. Oh, you didn't get it? You're thinking outside the box? You're, D, C student, things like that. Going to creative school, it raised me from my formative years to be somebody that is a creative thinker. So I'm not worried about getting it right. I'm just worried about trying. My teachers weren't like, did you regurgitate? Can you regurgitate everything I taught you? My teachers were like, okay, here's the material. What did you make from it?
Wow.
And that changes the entire landscape of the human that you develop into. So I'm super grateful for that. So I chose theater, 5th grade, and that's where that bug came from. Now, between 10th grade and being a young adult, I started, I got a little bit more into the neighborhood, started, you know what I mean, you become a teenager, you take other interests, and I didn't go. If I could go back, obviously I have no regrets, but if I can go back, that'd be the one thing I would do. If I would have known who I would become today with that talent,
Wow.
I would have just stuck with it. I would have tried to go to the best schools. I would have went to Yale. I would have, you know what I mean? I would have did everything that had to do with acting, because acting is what feeds my soul. But I allowed myself to get distracted left and right, which is fine, because I do feel like those experiences lead into having those pieces, those nuggets to pull from when I am doing my work.
For sure.
But there were a couple years there of distraction from what it is that I do now. And that came in the form of, I mean, even college. You know what I mean? I went to Clark Atlanta University. Shout out to CAU, the CAU, HBCU grad over here.
I heard a rumor somewhere you was like an ice cold brother or something.
A5A, Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Never forget it.
It's the wrong frat, but it's cool, bro.
You know what I mean?
No, I'm just kidding.
You know, everybody can't be the first. But yeah, so, you know what I mean, having those experiences and being able to round out my character in an authentic way, and then God bringing me back to and reinvigorating my passion in acting by sending me to LA, because that was a God-given move. That wasn't me. I got into corporate America out of college, and my first 2 years I was in Pennsylvania, and they actually gave me a promotion to the headquarter building, which was in Los Angeles, California.
Wow.
So that's how I got here. I didn't come here to act. I came here in corporate America. And then that first 6 months here, you know, it's an environment here. I'm like, okay, hey, wait a minute, LA, what's this about? This is Hollywood sign. I remember I really wanted to be an actor too. That was my heart.
Wow.
You know, let me go take an acting class. And I did. In that first acting class, I remember going and being like, oh, I got to do this for the rest of my life.
This is it.
Man, that's insane, because like, as believers, right, we believe like God already gave us who we were at the moment we were born, you know, and you talk about in the 5th grade, you chose theater. You know what I mean? And then you kind of veered off, but full circle moment, it's like it brought you right back to where you started, you know? And even the foundation, a great foundation in any of what we're doing in film and TV, right, is the theater. Right. Something else you said, though, that I thought was like really powerful. When I made the choice to go to grad school to get an MFA in acting, people looked at me like, you're leaving your practical life. You know, you got this job. They're paying for your master's degree for you to, you know, be in higher ed and so on and so forth. And people were like, well, what are you going to do with that MFA? And I had the one of the presidents at College of the Canyons here explain to me, a lot of jobs would rather hire someone who has that creative background, because they're not living inside a box. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's super important to just like to point out, right? Because we were just talking about, even before all of this, we were talking about putting limitations on God, right? Like there aren't like, God is bigger than what we can perceive as humans. You know, God is outside of the box.
Right.
And so that creative background kind of puts us in that space. The scripture says we were made in the image of God. So we're supposed to be outside of that box. And so on and so forth. But I'm sorry to cut you off, brother. But yeah.
No. And I love what you're saying to that extent, because I was thinking about this earlier. There's this idea that, like, even when I say I left Nestle and became an actor, you know, even though they brought me here, and I used to think about that, where it's like, yeah, you know, I put on, those big boy pants and decided to, and then I had to take a step back and realize, like, no, there's no other explanation than divine energy that would take me through the journey that I had so far and allowed me to step into those places, you know? And there's this thing, ego, man, ego's tough, but what ego will do is have you think that you worked hard for something that God already possessed you with.
Come on.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to be distracted in that way of thinking that, like, oh, I'm bigger than the purpose, or I'm bigger than the plan. I'm just grateful and humbled to be able to walk through the plan and the journey that I was given.
That's good. I want to ask you, when do you feel like you knew what your purpose was? Because you came out here, like, when was that aha moment? You said you visited, your acting class and you were like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. But when did you really, the moment of defining, this is my purpose, this is my God-given purpose?
There's a great quote that says the two most important times in a man's life, human's life, is the moment they were born and the moment that they find out why. right? It's hard for me to say with confidence that I understand why. I'm not in that place yet, and I can say that in honesty. I'm not in a place yet where I feel like I can say, I know exactly what my purpose is, and I'm walking in it for sure, right?
Yeah.
But I do feel like in this craft, in this field, the way I'm expressing myself with myself and in my relationships, in my friendships, the people I show up for, the people that show up for me, the people I pray for and with, those are closer to what my purpose could possibly be than anything else that I feel like I could be doing in life right now.
Yeah. That's so beautiful, because I feel the same way. I don't think I know yet. I know that I'm at the right place and the right time, but I'm very much so still figuring out what is my purpose, you know, and it's like we just answer the call. You know, we've decided to go where God has called us to go, and we're just trusting that everything else is going to fall into place. So I really relate to that, because people ask all the time, like, you know, purpose, you know, what are you doing? And it's like, I think we're all trying to figure it out. And that's the beautiful thing about life in this business. We're always learning new talents, trying new things like this podcast, you know, and just that's what it's about. I think continuously learning ourselves, learning our gifts, because you can learn them at various times.
Yeah, oftentimes we're focused on the destination and we miss out on the beauty of the journey. And I feel like you're in that. It sounds like that is manifesting for you in your friendships, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about people showing up for you. You're showing up for them. You're living that. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think oftentimes, especially, you know, like we're shooting this in our church right now.
Right.
But even in our church, we're taught like, this life is so much bigger than these four walls.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's about how we actually show up and do the work. It's not about what we're saying we are a part of, or these labels or these limitations. It's not about that, or this doctrine. It's about like showing up, living this truth. It sounds like you've done a lot of personal work on yourself to get to that point, to let ego kind of not be in your way.
Undoubtedly and intentionally. I do the work. I just started back going to therapy again. I had my first therapy session last week.
Shout out to therapy.
Definitely shout out to therapy. Big
Still
shout
looking.
out to the
Still looking.
to Black men going to therapy. I'm a huge advocate for that, and I like to mention it every opportunity that I can. But I started therapy for the first time last year. And that's when I realized, like, somebody that meditates and does other things, I was like, I don't really need therapy. And then I went, I'm like, we all need therapy.
Yeah.
We all need to go. So I kind of slacked off for a couple months, and obviously, you know, our industry got into a pretty tumultuous time where it not only questioned what it is you'll do to make money to survive financially, but it started to be like a soul suck creatively. You know, like, where are the outlets? Where's the potential? It's one thing for you to go on a bunch of auditions and not book something, and that's discouraging enough at times.
Right. Right.
To not have the opportunity
Yeah,
to
it's
be
different.
discouraged is a new level of discouragement. As soon as you thought it couldn't get any more discouraging, you took away my opportunity to even, you know, have the potential of career advancement, to have the potential of realizing my dreams in certain ways.
Wow.
So that's something that I really had to look in the mirror and define what it is that is success to me, what it is that calls me a man, that calls me happy, that brings me joy. What is it that you're doing internally that you aren't getting from external sources, right?
Yeah.
And it's that type of work. Outside, doing that instead of running to drugs, or, you know what I mean, running to sex, or, you know what I mean, running to these things that people do to TikTok. It could be scrolling, it can be food, it can come in so many different ways. What can I do to say, you know what, God, humble me enough to see what it is that you want for me, and see who I am. And then I'll let my world and my friends and my universe and my relationships run around that, as opposed to me trying to run around what I think people would think of me and what could build relationship, et cetera.
That's good.
So we just went through the pandemic.
I was just thinking of the
which kind
pandemic.
of slowed things down for us big time. I think I met you right before the pandemic. We were auditioning for that project. And then right after that, we went into the pandemic, so our world got slow in this industry. And then we
I
came out of
graduated
that.
into the pandemic.
Yeah.
I was a 2020 graduate.
Wow.
We walked in 2021. My last semester, actually, my 22nd birthday was I'm tripping. My 27th birthday
No,
was
go
the
22nd.
week
Yeah,
of
yeah,
lockdown.
yeah,
Right, was
no,
the week.
we'll take it.
Whenever it was the week of lockdown. Like my actual birthday, March 19th, was when the first curfew started in LA.
Yeah.
But go on.
No,
Yes, so graduating to
I ain't gonna age
pandemic.
myself. But no.
Wow.
No, that all is perfect.
Yeah.
It leads perfectly because you went through the pandemic. You found success after the pandemic, or what
Yeah.
a lot of people would deem success, especially, we from the East Coast. So when people see us doing what we're doing, especially you, brother, like you up there, you on the big stage, you know what I mean? And then now we're in this strike, actor-writer strike.
Yeah.
How has faith been keeping you? How have you been navigating that? Has it ignited anything new for you? Have you found new gifts, new talents? Are you working on any new gifts and talents?
I feel like, and I'm putting this together in my mind now, so give me a second, but I feel like faith is really only true when it's tested. You know? Like,
Yeah, I
that's
agree.
the whole point. The whole point is to get to the obstacle and be able to overcome it. Not just talk about the fact that if the obstacle comes, you know what I mean? I would be able to overcome it.
Yeah.
So when these things happen, it's kind of the beauty in it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's hard to see when you're in the midst of the battle. Like nobody's in the, you know what I mean, in the war swinging a sword like, this is gonna be glory. you know, unless you're, partly psychotic in that way, which is a beautiful thing to have. And I feel like I'm that warrior that's, you know what I mean, that's in the storm like, and when I win this, I'll be glorious. I recognize, I can recognize and see what it is I'm going through while I'm going through it, as opposed to having my head underwater with what's happening. So the pandemic happened, and I remember vividly, if I'm being honest, I remember I was playing NBA 2K. That's my game. I love that. I'm really great in it. But I'm playing NBA 2K, and I was thinking to myself like, yo, I am wasting my life. Because everything was on pause. This is like mid-pandemic. This is probably like June, July. We were in the thick of it. Like everybody understood the protocol. You knew what was happening. And it was like, yo, I'm never going to be on a TV screen because the world's never going to be the same. We're never going to have to we're never going to get to take these masks off. I'm never going to be able to build relationships in the room. Like whoever's already in the industry is probably already set, and everybody else is going to have to be some star prodigy or something like that. But like this like middle age, you know what I mean, guy just popping up out of nowhere and getting on screen is not going to happen. And I was convinced of that. I stuck through it, but I'm talking about low. You know, I was really low in that. And then fast forward to March 2021, I booked my first series regular role.
Boom.
Right?
Just like that.
I don't want to have to learn the same lessons more than once. So now, and what I realized was I was beating myself up for playing a video game when playing that game was keeping me alive.
Wow.
It was keeping me sane. It was keeping me, you know what I mean, busy. It was God's little gift to me. We're like, you know what I mean? Relax. That's what he was saying. Relax. Yo, you're good. You know what I mean? Eat, meditate, do your thing, learn the stuff you can learn, play a little bit of game, like you're going to be good. But I was doubting all that, right? And now I saw the other side of what happens from there. So I refuse to do that again. 2023 is going on. We're in the midst of it. You feel how you feel. When you feel those ways, you do the due diligence. You go to therapy. You go to church. You pray and talk with your friends. You realign with God. And then it'll be 2024, and we'll do something else.
Yeah.
And then it'll be 2025, and we'll be in a different space.
Yeah, man.
Right? And I feel like that's how you win the war.
Just like that. Now, you mentioned playing video games. It sounds like self-care. I am so fascinated by people's morning routines.
Yeah.
So I would like you to walk us through what it's like the day of the morning when you're off set or on set, and what is your thought process like for preparing for a role on a TV show?
You was made for this. That was a great question.
You know.
So my morning routine, let's start with that one there. Morning routine is very important to me.
Yeah.
I feel like the morning really kicks off your day and the type of day that you're going to have.
Yeah.
So first thing I do when I get up, I just start stretching. Like literally that's how I get up. I get up and then I just stretch to my feet and just kind of hold there. You start feeling in your back and whatnot. It kind of wakes up your whole body. And I'll do some other type of stretches just to work on my hip mobility and things like that. And then I go to Insight Timer, which is a great app. It's like it has like meditation music, sounds, mantras, things like that. It's called Insight Timer for anybody that needs that, to check in internally. But then I roll over, go to Insight Timer, put on, you know, some shaman, some ohms, some solfeggio frequencies or something like that. And I meditate. A lot of times I'll either meditate in my bed or I'll go up to my rooftop in my apartment building if I can catch some sun so I can get that vitamin D and that energy. And I meditate. And this is every morning. That's how I start off my morning.
Wow.
I just implemented last week this idea of social media between 10 and 8. So I don't get on social media at all before 10 a.m. and I don't get on it after 8 p.m. Right? Just giving it some structure, some hours, because you know how that can just easily it's just the truth. You got to work with yourself. So you can easily slip into, I can wake up and be like, all right, it's like an 8:30 morning. Oh, I got up early. You know what I mean? I'm up early. I'm about to go to the gym. I'll go on one post. Next thing you know, it's 11:15.
You go down the rabbit hole.
You know, it has been a long morning. So I try to keep that clean and clear. And then after you stretch and meditate, you'll be surprised just how ready you are to take on the day.
For sure.
So that's my morning routine there.
That's awesome.
And then you asked about
what
like
about
my preparing
on set?
for roles.
Yeah, on set, like morning. What is your morning like?
Okay, so what I try to do is the night before, I always go over whatever I'm reading or performing the next day. I'll read it one time right before I go to sleep, and then I read it right when I wake up. It's when your brain has the most capacity to absorb, you know what I mean, new things. So if I give it content that it already has, plus giving it a fresh look, normally it'll stick it in your mind the way it needs to. And then same routine, stretch, meditate, you know, and just get my mind ready for what it is I'm attacking that day, get into my creative mindset that I need to be for whatever that role is.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually have a follow-up question. This just popped in my head. So you said you came out here and then to acting. Before you became an actor, did you ever do any PA work, production assistant work, any assistant work on set?
So assistant work, no. My journey is actually the journey of a background actor. That was how I got into it. So Central Casting is who is the predominant leader of giving background to pretty much anything you watch. So in order to get into Central Casting, there's a whole process. Like you got to get up there 5, 6 in the morning to be one of the first people in line so you can go and, you know, give them your headshots and take pictures and register and stuff. So that was like the beginning of my journey. After I started acting classes, I was like, all right, I need to get on a set. Yeah. So I remember getting, you know, having my little tent kit, you know, so I can be there at 5 in the morning, waking up at 5, getting in that line and getting with Central Casting. And I started doing background work. And that's how I got on set. And you go from background to like stand in. I did a real like traditional, hardworking Hollywood type of
you sure did.
Intro. Yeah,
it
wasn't like a one audition hit wonder where it's like, I went to audition one time and, you know, next thing you know, I was serious. Like, it's like, nah, like I had to do the entire process.
I'm really happy you asked that too, and I'm happy you elaborated on it because oftentimes, you know, people from the outside looking in, it could just look like, oh, he went to performing arts school, now he's on TV, like, oh, his life was set up to be this way. But it's really good for people to see that work that was put in.
Yeah, know? For sure.
In that journey.
The background, I was sitting there, you know, when you're on background, you watching the lead actor, you're like, I could do that. You know what I mean? He forgetting his lines and stuff like that. You know, they're not prepared and stuff. Okay, we're about to run it again. Let me see. Okay. All right, go ahead. And you're like, man, I would have had that in the dressing room. I would have, you know, so I'm going through all of that stuff where it's like, that's the type of actor I want to be, or that's the type of actor I don't want to be. This is the type of comfort I want to have on set. I remember we had an actor from a popular TV show come to the background and just say, really quick, guys, I just wanted to let you all know that I appreciate you so much for being here. You guys have been awesome today, and we can't keep the show rolling without you. Right? And that made all of our day. I mean, we back in the trailer and whatnot. Yeah. You know, we back getting our time sheets signed. Like, man, he came over. He said, hey, he's a cool guy. I want to be that. I need to be that on set.
Yes.
And the truth is, when I got that opportunity, which is awesome that I think about it in this 360 moment, when I was shooting in Chicago in 4400, I was that guy.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember specifically many times going to the background. I was like, yo, y'all been here before. You know what I'm saying? I get it. For y'all that are dreaming to be here, it's valid. And for you all that are here just to get a paycheck, we appreciate you. You know, if y'all need anything, you can let me know. And I remember many of them coming to me after or days after for those regular backgrounds, like, yo, appreciate you, yo, for acknowledging us, to seeing that we're here. And I feel like that connection can only happen from being in the trenches and coming up from it.
Straight up, that's something, our pastor talks about that a lot, and he'll be on as one of our guests soon.
Nice.
But he talks a lot about, like, when you're in the process, that's the refinement. That's when you're actually becoming the person that you're going to be when you get to these platforms and these levels. And it sounds like, you know, you really did a great job of being aware of your process, even if you were unaware of it, right? Even that 2K story, right? That's a part of the process. And you had grace with yourself, obviously, you know, to looking back on it.
Learn grace.
Yeah, learning grace with yourself. Grace, you know absolutely. What I mean? I do want to talk, because you kind of, you know, went into being a leading man on set. What's the power of that outside of, you know, how you were able to show up for background? Tell me a little bit about that. Like, you know, being a series regular, because we have a lot of young, our audience are young and aspiring people. They're looking to do what you're doing. Or maybe they're looking, you know, maybe they are, you know, where you were before that moment of getting to the 4,400 or getting to Run the World. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the question is around what leadership looks like or feels like in that role. So one, let's say when you're in that place on the call sheet where you're there regularly and people look at you as somebody that is a leader, because just because you're on the call sheet at the top of your day every day doesn't mean that you have to exude leadership qualities. Right. You know, that's not a requirement. It's an expectation. You know, it's an assumption, but that is a choice to step into that leadership place. But I think the main piece of that is to remember or recognize that because you're in that spot doesn't give you a place to be someone that says, follow me. Right? I'm a leader, so follow me and everything I says go. It's not a time to really assert your ego, right? It's a time to really be able to say, if I wasn't here, have I led you to a place that you could lead on your own, right? And am I cultivating an environment that you all and that everybody feels like a winner in? That's my type of culture, right? I want everybody to be comfortable. I don't want everybody to be like, oh, I know how to please him. I want everybody to be like, oh, now I'm in a space where I'm comfortable and I can exude my leadership, whatever that means in my life. Whether it's like a PA, like PA can still be a leader in the PA set. Like, okay, yes, you got all the information that you need from me in order for me to be comfortable with what I need to do for my role. And because you're doing your job so great, I can do my job so great. Now I'm not on set saying like, oh man, I'm so thirsty. I haven't had nothing to drink all day. Cause it's like, nah, you always bring me to, you know what I mean? The Aquafina. Psych, it will never be Aquafina that I bring. Let me say that. No endorsement or not endorsement, but it would never. It will definitely be like Evian or something like that. But anyway, you know what I mean? You have everything that I need here. What? The only reason I say it Aquafina is because you get it so much. I'm like, bro, y'all trying to kill me. So, you know what I mean? In that nature, my form of leadership is to create leadership.
Copy.
That's nice.
For sure. Talk to us. I follow you on social media. Obviously, I know you, but I follow you too. And I've seen you.
I follow you too, Freddie.
You've done some work with Mansa, which is, I believe, Nate Parker's behind that network.
Yeah, Nate Parker, David Oyelowo, Chike. I mean, they got a great team over there.
It's essentially a Black network. And talk to us about that, you know, working on that platform, promoting the work that's there. And the importance of that.
So I think, when we first did the project that I'm starring in on there called Baselines, which is really great, you all could check it out. Mansa, M-A-N-S-A app is free to download. To me, it feels like kind of like a TikTok, social media meets Netflix in one app. It is Black created, Black owned. So it's always important for us to get that licenseship, get that ownership back into our community.
For sure.
And the content, like the show Baselines, I'm not just saying it because I'm in it, it's great. It's a Nate Parker piece. He's the guy behind like Birth of a Nation and on top of a bunch of other great projects that he's acted in. So you know his expertise. But basically, it's so much, I believe it's $1.3 trillion in our community, the Black community, and only 2% of it circulates back into our community. 2% of 1.3 trillion. We promote and give so much to outside culture, to outside influence that doesn't do anything for our community.
Right.
And I feel like I'm witnessing us getting to a place where we're starting to recognize our power.
Yeah.
I see things like Earn Your Leisure or Invest Fest that happened in ATL, and I'm looking at that like, yo, they had 20,000 people come out. They had a lineup that had some of the greatest Black entrepreneurs of our time coming together for finance and education around money and changing our culture from shoot, kill, hit, this, that, to like, yo, let's invest and build in ourselves.
Yeah.
You have women like Tabitha Brown, out there just that is what I'm about, and that's what I want to support. And I feel like giving to and being a part of a project like Mensa, it definitely is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, man, I think it's so important. Oftentimes, since going to grad school or even in undergrad, I've kind of moved through very diverse spaces. Diverse for me, I'm from Baltimore, so growing up, my city's 70% Black, or it was when I was in the city. Yeah. So like, going to undergrad, going to grad school, I was in a lot of other spaces, what people may call white spaces or whatever, like stuff like that. And then people would ask the question of like, you're always promoting stuff as Black or as this and as that. And I think what you were saying, about the money circulating in our community, how we need to get that started in ownership. I think that's why we say this is Black owned, or it's not to be divisive. It's not to be used in a way that separates us from other people. It's to be used in a way for us to actually appreciate ourselves, because we were just talking about the scripture says, love your neighbor as you would love yourself. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the only way we could ever even exude love for other people is if we, in a good way, in a productive way, in a healthy way, is if we are putting that into ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I think that is what, a brother of yours, Martin Luther King Jr., brother of Alpha Phi Alpha, very much believed in creating like equality within our, in our societies. And I feel like, equality is not me going to be able to sit at your dinner table or me being on only your networks. Equality is me having a network, or us having a network and you having a network, and now we respect each other because we have these things. You have your school, I have my school. And now if I want my kids to go to your school, they can do that because they're free. We're free. We have access. But at the same time, there's no lack of respect. And I think that's what we're trying to build now.
And what happens with us, and definitely in this culture, and they know what's going on, but I'm not even going to get into that part. What I will say is what's evident is that the powers that be give us access and call it equality. Yeah. So they say like, oh, we'll allow you to do this. You have your network there. And it's like, where's our ownership? Right? You're giving us a piece to say like, even like sports, like the NBA or something like that. We give the appearance of freedom, of access. You got millionaires, billionaires, like look at LeBron James, this is not, where's our ownership? Right. Yeah. How many teams do we own? Right. Like if you're cutting a check and if somebody's making a $500 million, got a $490 quarterback deal for 5 years, something like that, it's like, who's cutting that check? And why aren't you ever giving anybody an opportunity to sit at that table? Why aren't any of my legends the ones cutting that check? Right? Yeah. It was a big deal with my favorite team, the Washington Commanders. So odd to say. Washington Commanders.
Sometimes
I think that's the first time I've said it on film. But I'm a Washington football team, Washington Commanders fan, and we just got Magic Johnson as a part owner last year, which was really exciting because our last owner, I won't even mention his name, he was just terrible person, terrible human, conducted terrible business. But so for the first time, we have somebody like, not for the first time, but to get somebody like Magic Johnson in a place to be an owner of a football team, it's like, that's huge. Yeah. But that's happening now, and it's 2023.
Right.
So we've been dominating this sport for decades.
Right. So do you think that it's because Magic Johnson is Magic Johnson? Because I'm trying.
Absolutely. We're trying. It has so much to do with him and his influence and his network and accumulation with the money that he's gotten. But you shouldn't have to be Magic Johnson because all the other owners, you don't know any of their names. It's not like I'm talking about like Bon Jovi and George Strait and all of the, you know what I mean? Or George Bush or something like that. Yeah. It's like, no, these are regular, I would say 99% of the owners, and you wouldn't know who they are. Right. So why can't I have, 50% of the owners be Black people that you don't know who they are?
So do you think we don't know we don't have the blueprint? Do you think it's a lack of knowledge, or do you think it's a lack?
The blueprint is being held from us on purpose, in a very redlining type of energy. Are you familiar with redlining? Where, okay,
with the homes,
so basically with homes, it was a fact that Black people could not live in certain areas
Right.
of certain cities because they'd be like, you can only live, we're gonna cut this line off in red and you can only live in this area on purpose. It's not like an accident. It's not like we didn't want to go somewhere
Right.
else. And that's very much what's happening in, our society and
And
our
then we're not
culture as
having
far
the
as
funding,
business.
yeah.
You're not giving us funding. You're not things like InvestFest. I heard them talking about this on InvestFest, but it was like if somebody else, anybody else that wasn't black did something that big, you would have endorsements from everything. You would see that commercial all over. Somebody was able to bring out 20,000 people to talk about business. If it was anybody else that did that and they weren't black, they would be like, this is one of the biggest things that is happening every year. This is a financial Super Bowl.
It is.
Wow.
Commercials, people be throwing money, banks would be throwing monies at it and all types of things. But we have to get funding from like, Steve Harvey and Diddy and stuff like that. We have to
Right.
go to our own people
Tyler
to ask
Perry.
for Tyler Perry.
Which is also beautiful.
Which is a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
Even
right?
thinking about Spike Lee, right, when he was producing Malcolm X, he talks a lot about that. The way he got the rest of the money was he had to go to Michael. He had to go to our people to get it.
It is beautiful. I would love to see more of it. Like if we're gonna do
Yeah.
that, if we're gonna
we're gonna do
recognize
it,
it,
be
let's
all in.
recognize it.
Yeah.
Let's take our money out of the distractions, out
Right.
of those things, out of what has tricked us to say, oh, that's what we should be spending our money and I should be drifting this down and that buying this. And let's buy some, like, why don't we have like a black owned car dealership? How does that not happen?
Right.
Why is it
A
not a
car,
black owned
yeah.
car right now? A black Tesla.
Straight up,
Right.
bro.
It's out there. I guarantee you. I know for a fact. I've seen it. I looked it up. It's out there. Romeo Miller's actually partnering with somebody. If anybody wants to look that up,
Romeo
a luxury.
Miller?
Mhm.
Okay,
It's a
awesome.
luxury black brand. But why isn't that the thing? It should be black alcohol.
Why
black
didn't I know
tequila,
about
black-
that?
Yeah, I mean black
You know?
cars. We should be wearing black clothes. It should just be a regular. What are you like?
Black
What are you wearing?
clothes.
Of course I'm not.
Black
of
on
course
black.
I'm not wearing Gucci. That's not owned by. Like I'm wearing some black stuff.
Yeah.
Why aren't we there yet?
I love that. Honestly, that's why we're doing this, right? To bring awareness to those
Yeah.
things. Also, so thank you for sharing that, bro.
sure.
That's
So
great.
speaking on those things, speaking of working for Mansa or being on that platform, and black-owned networks and black-owned business, talk to us in a little more depth about Actors Rampage, what you're doing there, what you're building. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Thank you so much. And I will say with Actors Rampage, I am really proud of it in that very specific way as well, because when I came up with the idea for Actors Rampage, I wasn't thinking to create an acting workshop for black people. And that's just me being honest. That wasn't like my idea, like I need a black workshop so we can, the idea was to have something that was current, that was led and facilitated by somebody and people that are actually in the industry, not somebody that was in it 10, 15 years ago, trying to tell you what worked back then.
Right, right.
By having a community, I wanted to build community. I wanted to build specificity. A lot of times you'll go to classes and it just kind of, you talk about frivolous things for, for hours, and then somebody start talking about therapy and you know what I'm saying? It's like, I would just come in here to like act. Like I really want to get on my feet and act. So it birthed from those ideas. I want to go somewhere that I am acting for sure. I'm not just acting for 10 minutes and watching somebody for the rest of the time. It doesn't turn into a therapy session. That I want to go somewhere and act. And then I put it together and black people start showing up.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
naturally, because, my audience and my friends and stuff. And then a couple sessions in, I realized, oh, this is actually a safe space for
Wow.
black artists. Because a lot of times you go to class out here and you're the black person in class.
Straight up.
Or it's you and your friend. And it's like, oh, yeah, me and, and John, we're two black people. Yeah, me here. And Actors Rampage, it was like, oh, we're knocking out scenes. We're doing work. And we're talking in our language. We're critiquing each other in our flavor. And it's not like somebody telling you to be more or less aggressive because it's coming off and you're doing great. It's like, nah, man, like what you did there, I can see it in a different lens.
Yeah.
So it made me really happy and really proud and humbled to be able to be the vessel for that workshop, that Actors Workshop that happens every Wednesday right here in Hollywood, California.
That's
Actors
beautiful.
Rampage, at Actors Rampage on social media.
Love it.
I need to follow.
ActorsRampage.com.
Yeah. Oh,
for sure.
I
Check
need
it
to
out.
attend.
You gotta get on it.
I need to attend. I need to
yeah.
follow that page and I need to attend. It's every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday, it's a powerful space.
I think it's a beautiful thing. I also love that it's a safe space for us, or us meaning like black people. I mean, we all black. But I do think it's important for the ownership is also important, and it's important for other people to come and consume from us also.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, they do, though.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, but consume from us.
But consume from us,
Yes,
meaning like
yes.
come. It would be great to see other ethnicities in your workshop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's something that we've been doing, right? For so long.
For so long, supporting others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even for us, right? I went to, the California Institute of the Arts. You went to USC. These are great institutions in regards to training you for this craft. And, obviously we graduated amongst some of the highest skilled people in our time, right? In those spaces. But like you just said, in my graduating class of grad and undergrad from the MFA and BFA acting programs, I was the only black male in my graduating class. Now, did that work out in my favor?
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, there were moments when I could have just been learning as a student, but instead myself and another young African-American woman in my class had to fight to put August Wilson on camera, because for this year you could only do the classics, and those classics were Shakespeare, Chekhov, whatever, you know what I mean? And it was like, nah, August Wilson, that's classic. Yeah. That's us. And we, rather than just being able to settle into that and like explore that as artists, we spent a lot of our time battling just to be able to do that work, if that makes sense. So I think I'm saying all that to say, like, I think it's important for us to create space for ourselves, but it's also important for other people to come and pay their dollars to learn from us and experience us, because we've always had to humanize other people. That's what makes us strong artists, I believe. Not only did we grow up living in our skin, you telling stories from your perspective, you had to live in their perspective too. We got a story about that going to the same elementary and middle school.
And we didn't even realize. I was coming in to the elementary and he was coming out, and then same with middle
and when
school.
did y'all figure this out, that y'all went to the same?
This was maybe last year.
Last year.
But it was definitely like an afterthought. It was definitely an adult thing where it was like, oh, you went there too? I can't.
So we were in the same elementary, the same middle school, and we both went to the same college.
And oddly enough, all those spaces were predominantly white spaces.
They were.
But we found each other.
We did. And I want to touch in, go back to what you were saying about the school experience, because at USC, for our MFA of Film and TV Production, there are 60 people that are admitted, and out of the 60, 12 were actually black. Wow. And there were only 2 black men, and the rest were women. And I found myself saying, oh, there's no way there's not going to be any black people in the class with me. But sure enough, still found those spaces where it's like, okay, I got one black guy in here, and we're in it together. Or other cases, you'll have maybe 1 or 2 black women. But paired with having historical discussions, I think little things as the day in the life of the black experience, like wanting to put an image of a black girl doing another black girl's hair. Well, what is this? Getting questions from teachers. Why is this important? What is this a part of the story? Well, it's our story. It's our culture. Like, to do black hair, like it's just a part of us. And they're like, well, it doesn't need to be on the screen that long. And I had a short where I took my time with it, and we watched the girl, do her hair in the different angles, added to music, and it was beautiful.
I love that.
But it just goes to show, like, we're always fighting for our little nuances, telling our history, but also sharing the world what our culture is and the importance of it to be on screen. I'm just excited for opportunity to do that for the rest of our lives in however way we see fit.
I wanna ask you a question then about, black women. And what role has black women, maybe your mom, aunts, relatives, anyone for that matter, what role have they played in your, and women in general, but what role have they played in your development and where you are now?
Every lesson that I've ever learned in my life that was worth learning, I learned from a black woman.
Wow.
That is a fact. I did grow up in a household with black women, my mom and my sister, my older sister. She's 3 years older than me. That's who raised me. So I was raised by black women. So all of my morals, the way I look at life, the way I look at struggle, the way I look at strength, all of that was shaped by black women. And there's honestly, and I'm not saying it, I feel like even if I wasn't black, I would have to be able to objectively look at this and say, black women are the strongest women on this planet. It's not, it's like, it's just factual when you look at what it is that they have to go through, who it is that they have to support, what they have to do in order to support that group. Being women in general, and being able to raise and birth, and I mean just the intuition that they have, I mean, it's really like walking magic. And to be able to witness that growing up, you almost take it for granted because you think it's normal. You know, you just be like, oh yeah, I mean, my mom's like this, like she's great, she's able to do this stuff, until you become an adult and like you're dating and you start to see, I mean, the stuff that women have to do, especially in now environment where you do have to work. Let's say something, just keep it on top. Let's say something as simple as a self-tape, right? I do a self-tape, I got a self-tape in the morning, I get up, go over my lines, boom, we pop on the Zoom, we do it, right? And then, you know what I mean, I have my girlfriend and I'm watching her, a black woman, get ready for a self-tape. She has to get up early, do her makeup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Pick out the right outfit so she knows that she's looking. These are the same auditions that's only going to take 7 minutes, right? Now she got a full face beat. You get what I'm saying? Maybe had to call somebody in order to do her makeup because it's an entire skill in itself. It's an entire process in itself. And you got hair. So now you got to do hair and makeup for a 5-minute audition, right? Whereas I just woke up, rolled over, got the crust out of my eyes, and got to it. It's the little things, the little nuances, the build up of that, and still be expected, not have to, but society expects them to be able to, you know what I mean, to still cook, to still clean, to still nurture, to still be the mothers, to still be, you know what I mean, to be humble and nimble on your feet and subservient. It's insane.
Yeah, man.
To bear it all and keep pushing
To
through.
bear it all and keep pushing. That is a level of strength that I don't feel like I'll ever be able to emulate, that I'll ever have to, and that I can just simply sit back and admire and be grateful for.
That's beautiful.
I love that.
He said, Black women are like magic.
Magical.
It's beautifully said.
That's the quote right there.
Walking magic.
Put it right there.
We're going to name the episode that.
No, that's amazing. If there, and to wrap this up, if there was, you know, our listeners out there are young, aspiring, maybe they're looking for guidance, maybe there's a young brother out there looking for a male figure. If there was something you could leave them with, if there was something that you could leave the next generations with, what would it be in closing? As it relates to faith also.
As it relates to faith. I don't want to say something like frivolously or without thought.
Think about it.
If I had to leave the next generation.
That's big.
Any words?
It's a big question. Yeah.
Is the next generation is what threw me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the
Dang.
next
This
generation.
is my whole time capsule, and it just like, yo, what did he say? That's gonna be tough. That's gonna be
Or
tough
even
for me
our
to say
peers.
comfortably.
Our peers,
right?
okay, our
like
peers.
maybe our peers are like, you know, you're inspirational. I want to get to where you are, but I'm struggling with my faith. How can I strengthen that? Like, what is your sauce?
I'm gonna say what
What's
comes to
your
my
secret
mind,
sauce?
and even though it may sound cliche, I have my reasons for saying it, and it's so true. So I would say, if I had to time capsule it, never, ever stop believing. Never stop believing.
That's good.
Because in belief, that's where all the magic happens.
Yeah.
And without belief, it's very, very unlikely that you'll find success in anything. But you have to believe in yourself, even when it gets really tough, even when you don't feel like you look as good as you want to look, you don't feel as good as you want to feel, aesthetically, externally, internally, when it looks like the dream is over, when you're playing 2K and it looks like, you know what I mean, you're wasting your time. You know, when it looks like they booked it and you should have had it.
Wow.
And that keeps happening for the 100th time. So you're never, the 101's not going to be any different. You can never stop believing. When you're on strike and it feels like this industry is not going to get it together and the same amount of times it'll take for your finances to run out. So you may have to go home and now you're doing self-tapes without an agent. And your manager decided to drop out of the business. So you got to find a new, never stop believing.
Wow.
Because without the belief, without the faith, it's all dead.
Thank you, man.
Faith without works is dead.
Yeah,
Dead.
But faith with works is alive.
Come on, let's live it.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Love it.
brother.
No,
Thank
you
you
for sharing this
so
time
much
with us,
for
man.
being on our podcast.
This was
Faith
fun.
like this and sharing what your faith is like and how God has just brought you into the industry and how he is keeping you, and may he always keep you.
Yeah, 100%. Tell the people where they can follow you, man. Social media.
You can get me at, where should I look straight into right here? You can get me at King Derrick A. That's pretty much on everything. KINGDERRICK.A. You can also go to DerrickAnthonyKing.com if you want to see everything and anything that I've done in my career so far. And other than that, I just ask that you pray for me as I am praying for you, whether I know you or not. I'm praying for the world to be loved, to be held, and to feel important, you know, and to recognize your glory, because we all have it.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.